Okay, we're live back on the Disruptor stream. Abby, good to see you.
Good to see you. I just want to give a little disclaimer. I'm on this live stream today from Bergen, Norway, where the sun never sets. So it's 11 p.m., but I'm a little darker, I can kind of see, than you guys. So it's at least a little gloomy here, kind of Seattle like. So if you hear music in the background, you know why, because I'm in a bar because it's 11 p.m. here and that's all that's open.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad you could make it. Today, our guest is Kristine Munro. Kristine is a real estate developer turned community organizer, social media specialist, growth professional for people with online businesses. She'll explain it all. Kristine, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you translate everything I just said into the correct terminology for what you do for a living?
Yeah, I know. It sounds like I do a lot. But it's kind of simplified into I was a real estate developer for 10 years. I was in the real estate space for 15 years. And then I got burnt out, wanted to do something more creative. I love socializing and connecting with other people. And when I moved to the States from Canada, I tried a bunch of online businesses to be at home, and I ended up really learning social media to grow my businesses. I ended up teaching social media to entrepreneurs, and now I kind of morphed into bringing back my my old skills in real estate, and now I have an Instagram agency for real estate professionals, just doing Instagram and marketing strategies for them, as well as, yes, I am a community builder because I'm all about connecting. So whether it's on social media or in person, I created a beyond networking community called Business Bosses Who Brunch here in Denver to connect other women entrepreneurs to learn and grow and mentor each other and support one another.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we, Andy and I have gotten to attend some of your events and see it in action, and it's really cool to see, women supporting each other, fellow entrepreneurs, making sure that we're there for each other. So, can you talk a little bit more about, what the events are like? What was the thought process going into creating these so that people can support one another?
Yeah. So when I was doing my online businesses and really starting from scratch, I just felt like I needed to find community. And I ended up finding some elsewhere outside of Denver. And they were all kind of learning based, where we were learning together in terms of self development and business strategies. And so it's there where I just met so many other women that supported each other and helped me in my growth. So I just knew that I wanted to bring that back to Colorado. And I think at this point in time, we just started in January of 2022. And I think that we were all ready for some in person events. So I was doing a lot of virtual events like over the last 2 years over the pandemic. And I just said, I'm ready for some in-person events. And I love to brunch. I'm a foodie at heart. And so the brunch concept was first where I just had this vision of gathering all the women for a beautiful brunch and have everybody connect that way with speakers from different industries that could shed some light and help them with their own stories in helping them grow. But we can't do a brunch every month. So the whole, I guess, format of the whole community is that we do a brunch every quarter. And then every month in between, we hold workshops, different kinds of workshops, where there will be a guest mentor to teach the girls anything from, like, a life coach did a values exercise one month. We're doing a social media workshop for the first time this month. What else have we done? We do hot seats where we just get everybody in the room and I think that's the one that you guys were at, where we get other women from all industries to just share what they're going through, anything they need support in, to take the chair, for 10 minutes, share what they need support with, and have the whole group kind of contribute and help and support one another. So that's basically in a nutshell what we do. And then I'm now starting to add on more events. more than one event. So now every month we do a coffee and connection and co-working every third Thursday of the month, because as you guys know, as entrepreneurs, it can be very lonely. We're all kind of working in our own space at home, whether that's at home or at the coffee shop, but it's lonely to always be alone. We're not like in a corporate building with so many other people. So I just thought that this would be a great way to connect first and then sit with one another to actually focus, because I think that when you dedicate a specific amount of time to focus on work and income producing activities, you tend to not get distracted because you're there to work. And so that is the whole premise behind the coffee connection and co-working events that we do. So yeah, and then hopefully we'll add on some more going forward.
So do you see this as, I know you're also part of a larger network of women nationally, and it seems like the more I delve into this, there's a lot of people that want to create, be it kind of local grassroots level or larger, based on their industry, based on their interests, as
Sorry,
a
you just
business in and of itself. It seems like that's something that a lot of people are moving towards, who maybe previously were a coach or an author or something, but people want to create communities of like-minded folks that are coming to regular events or a part of a regular website or some kind of forum. Do you think that that is something that most of the people in your circle are trying to, I guess in fewer words, I'm seeing a lot of branded communities out there. And
yeah, I do. I think like women entrepreneurs or people with big dreams or people that just want to connect, they think they're just knowing the importance of community, and some do want to start their own a community around their business. For example, like there's like a podcaster that also wants to start her own community, but like her main business is podcasting. But I think that in this particular community in Denver, I don't know if there's a lot of women who want to start their own. I think they're feeling grateful that something has come and they can come. They don't have to think about it. A lot of them have asked to be on the planning committee to like be a part. I feel like this community, I wanted it to be ours, not just mine. And so the first 20 women that had joined in the beginning are founding members. And so we kind of all share in the planning and things like that. But I have heard from other women from other communities that I'm part of, like outside of Colorado, have said to me, I really want to, we don't have anything like that where I am, and I would really like to do something similar where I'm from. And so I have it in the wheelhouse of creating perhaps chapters or branching out from this brand, for women who want to do the same thing, where a lot of the things have been already set up for them, but it hasn't been rolled out yet. But I mean, it is a thought because more and more women have been asking for it.
I think that would be a great idea. I love it.
Yeah.
We got to start one in Norway, where I'm at here. I was going to ask you too, Kristine, like who is a good fit, because there are other, quote unquote networking groups, even though you're more of the anti-networking group, who's a good fit for your group of women?
I would say, I mean, we have all sorts of women from all different kinds of industries, and they're not necessarily been an entrepreneur or for a long time. I think some of them are wanting to start something, or they know that they have something on their heart to start. So a lot of them are in corporate jobs still and want kind of explore the world of entrepreneurship. And I think so it's any women that have a big dream on their heart to start something, whether they haven't started it yet or they have just started and they need help and support, or they've been doing it a long time. We have something for everyone. And that's why I set it up as a mentorship program in both self-development and business strategies to help these women along their journey of trying to find what feels aligned to them. Because for myself, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years, but like I said, I was in the real estate space for so long, and I don't necessarily feel like it was my true passion. I think it was like I did it because, my parents told me to do it, not necessarily because it's what I wanted to do. And I think the more we can mentor women and support one another in doing things that we want to do that are that's on our hearts, I think that's kind of what we try to promote as well with supporting one another. So yeah, any woman that has a big dream on their heart that knows, they're meant for more and they want to do more, but they just don't know what to do, because a lot of the questions are like, where do I even start? Those women would be perfect here too.
I know by nature of referrals and friends that join together and people that bring in, there's probably chains of people that are maybe in the same industry. Have you seen a
Mhm.
large group of people in one particular industry space?
Um,
You mentioned
hmm.
you work with a lot of real estate people.
Well, I do for my, it's funny because I do for my Instagram agency, I only have real estate clients. That's how I kind of structured it, just to niche down because that's the business that I know. And so I thought that when we were doing our Instagram strategy and management, that it just made sense that I worked with real estate people because I really know that business too. But it's funny you say that because our community, there's not a lot of real estate people. I would say, I mean, there are a few, but not a lot. I don't, that's not my goal to just go after real estate people. And that is one of the things I found with communities here in Denver that I tried attending, is that I found that some were self promotional. Like, not just here, I shouldn't say that just in Colorado, but like all my life going to networking events. Um, I found that they were very like all about pass your business card around. Let's just get to know each other so that we can gain clients, all the things. And I didn't feel that that was really connecting. And so I really wanted to form a community where it's not about how do I build my clients? I mean, that comes for everybody else. Like, everybody has been working with each other outside of the events now, collaborating or working with one another. And it's been great, but that's not the main goal. I think that the main goal was for everybody to connect. And because everybody's connecting and making friendships, like true, deep friendships, that's why, we're recommending each other, or we're referring each other, or we're working with one another. And I think that's just more natural than coming to a networking event, passing your business card around, and leaving and not having any connections. And so, I mean, we welcome real estate, but I don't target them specifically. I target, like, target's not the right word. I just welcome all entrepreneurs from all walks of life. And so we have everything from coaches, we have photographers, we have small business owners, like women who own like a Botox salon or a tanning salon, hairdressers. We have, what else do we have? We just
Jewelry.
have, yeah, we have someone who makes jewelry. Like, there's just so many women. We have a copywriter. Like, there's just a lot of different um, industries, which I love, because when you share, we all have that common base of, like, we're all entrepreneurs going through this up and down roller coaster of, like, trying to figure out our way. But these women, when we support one another, it's so great to get other perspectives, and not just from your own industry.
Oh, totally. And I love seeing that too, that it doesn't matter if you know nothing about someone's industry. At one of your events, you can still have something to contribute, or,
Oh, totally.
some kind of criticism or critique or advice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you too, Kristine, with this, Business Bosses Who Brunch, what is the biggest challenge you faced in growing it this year?
Well, I did it. I'm new here to Colorado, and when I say new, I'm going on. It will be 4 years this September, and so I don't. It's not like I have a huge network here. I don't know a lot of people. I'm not from here, and so I thought, I'm really just starting from the bottom, and I'm just going to ask people, if they're interested in this. And it's slowly, like, it's been picking up momentum and growing, just because a lot of people just crave that community. But even so, even though, we're going on our third brunch here in the fall, every time we have a big event, I'm always like, oh my God, is anybody going to come? Nobody's like, and I think that a lot of women have asked me that too, who want to start something on their own. Like, I don't know anybody. I don't really have a community built up. I don't have a huge following on social media. How am I gonna, but I don't think that that's important. I think that if you just share your vision, and if you're just trying to connect one another and build a community where it's everyone's and everybody just wants to connect and help one another, I think naturally I've found that people just really need it. And yeah, I mean, my next thing is like, how are we going to grow this outside of Colorado? And I know that I can, but I'm just focusing on the women of Colorado right now, to really make it feel like ours in this state and city.
It seems like one of the things that a lot of people fear is most professionals want to put on events of some kind. And
Mhm,
Abby's matchmaking business, she puts on events every couple weeks in the 20 to 30 person size. And
mhm.
I used to put on beer and wine tastings, and we would have like the worst one would have 100 people, the best one would have 1,500 people on a weeknight. And you didn't know until like 2 days before, because most
Yeah,
people buy tickets to events online the week
at
of.
the last, yeah, the last minute. Yeah, totally. Every
So
time. It's
I
hard to
saw
plan.
at the last event that I was at, there was a woman that came out from California that was building a framework for a specific community that she believed in, but she was talking about how to send it out almost as a kit to do franchise kind, not like a franchise, but to do small
Chapters.
chapters, yeah, in
Yeah.
other cities. So what do you think is the biggest fear when it comes to people putting on their first few events or wanting to? It seems like most of these women wanna help other people put on events as well, but I see a
Yeah.
lot of fear, not from
I
your
think,
group.
and I think one of them being, and this is just from women that have talked to me about, like, can I just, can we just start that here and I can lead it here, is because they wouldn't even know where to start too. Like we all have our own jobs, right? So to do this would be something that we would do on the side or as like a second job. And so it's like a lot of startup to build the brand, a logo, a website, all the things to set it up so that you can create the membership. And if that's already done for them, there's that they don't even have to worry about. There's the brand, there's the concept, there's everything's kind of already been mapped out and planned for them. And all they have to do is kind of just promote it in their city and say, this is what we're doing. And this is how it's done. I think that's easier for most women who have their own careers, have their own jobs, but still want to start a community. And also, you know, I don't know. I think whether you have that or not, like everybody's always going to have that. Oh my God, I'm going to start an event and like, am I going to sell tickets? You know, you got to rent venues. You got to put up some upfront money before you know how many people are coming to your events. So
It seems like
I'm
that goes
starting.
all the way up to the highest level too, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's like you see BNI groups, you see the 1,000,000 Cups franchise, a lot of people here go to that, but that's in like 30 cities. Or there's a guy from Seattle that does this thing called Founders Live, which is now in 10 or 15 cities, but all the way up to like Spartan races and Tough Mudder and the rock and roll marathons. Like some local person said, I want to bring this to my market. And by
Mhm.
having that franchise brand, even if you're just using their website and their promotional materials, you get to feel like you have a little bit of a boost because you're not starting something that people have never heard of.
Right, for sure. Like, and I think that's what people want is like, it's kind of like a security that, okay, well, I have this brand to back this up to kind of help me. I'm not really starting from scratch. And so people kind of know what to expect if they're going to come to this community. So it gives some people security to be able to know that when you're telling people about it, they kind of know what they can expect.
I think that totally makes sense. And another question kind of just came up for me of what do you feel like is the special sauce for a great event? So when you're putting these together, what are like the three biggest things you always want to have a successful event?
Every time we start a big event, I always kind of put it out there in the universe that I just want that every woman ends up connecting with the people that they're meant to connect with, get the messages that they are meant to hear that day, um, just to get something that they needed in that event, whether it's something they learned or a connection that they had met. And at the last event, I didn't even say that I put that out, but that was my intention. And women were DMing me and texting me, telling me that the woman that they sat next to was like who she was meant to sit with because she helped her with something. And I think you had mentioned, Andy, that a girl that you knew that was there had connected with a podcaster that she admires that was there, and she was so excited that she got to meet her there. So I just always think that when you put yourself in rooms with other like-minded women, like magical things can happen. You just never know who you're going to meet, what you're going to learn, and what you're going to get out of it that's going to, catapult you to the next level. And I'm really also a big intention that I've said from the very beginning is I do not like small talk. I do not like going to an event and not having to know anyone and not having to know what to say. And so we have conversation starters that are deep questions. I always say my intention is that for everyone to get to know each other on a deeper level that goes beyond surface level. And I feel like that happens every time. Like people get vulnerable, people share, people get really deep, and that's how those connections and those relationships form quick. And that's why the women are now gaining friendships and meeting outside of the events as well, because it happens that quickly when everybody's intention is to meet on a deeper level. And I just want to say that I am an extrovert, and so I feel like going to brunches and going to these things are my jam. But I mean, if I went to an actual networking event a couple of months ago and I didn't know anybody, and I noticed that I was nervous going. And so I just want everybody to know that I understand whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it can be intimidating to come to like networking events. And I don't even like using that word. I always say that Business Bosses Who Brunch goes beyond networking. We're really more about connecting, but I understand that it's difficult to come to an event where you don't know anybody and to come share. But I just want to share, and I have these testimonials from a lot of women that have said they were scared to come. They finally did, and they were so glad they did because the women are just so welcoming, so inviting. Everybody's intention is to really connect. And so I think that everybody feels welcome because everybody just craves that and needs that. And just to get yourself out of your comfort zone to just try one event, even a smaller one, doesn't even have to be a brunch or a workshop, and see for yourself. And you never know, right, what happens when you step out of your comfort zone.
For all of those people, I think Abby knows what I'm about to say, but I always tell our clients I speak for a living, right? And do podcasting and things like this. And I always tell people I would rather give a TED talk in front of 2,000 people than go to a bar where I don't know anybody. And
Right.
the trick is, this is why I'm a photographer. This is why I volunteer to help. The trick, if you don't like networking events, because I despise, bust out in hives thinking about it, you need to have something to do. So if you're there, if you call the organizer ahead of time and say, "Hey, I'd love to help. Can I do the name tags for people? Or can I help with photography? Or can I, run one of the stations?" Abby, whenever she drags me to a networking event, I do this thing called the slingshot where I'll just kind of cling on to her, and she'll say, "Oh, you need to meet my business partner, Andy. He's about to tell you about podcasting for 45 minutes. And then she'll leave, and then she'll come back and grab me and latch me to somebody else. But
Right.
I do really great in a group of fewer than 4. And Abby will know when I'm getting awkward and come and shoot me in a different direction, and then, come back and tend. So you either need a wingman or you need a job. But the best way to go is to just open up, because I could find one person and talk to them for the whole 2-hour event, which may not be productive at a networking event, but it's that comfort of the icebreaker bit of it. And I
Mhm.
know Abby has plenty of input on this.
I think that you just gave me a great idea, Andy, because there was another woman at the event that had said, I'm more comfortable. And she's been a part of the community since the very beginning. So she knows a lot of the women that are already there. But she says, I feel awkward when I'm not doing something. So can you please give me a task or give me a job to do at the event? And I think that in going beyond just the planning committee, I think that I will put it out there like, hey, if you want to come to the event and if you want a job to do or a volunteer job to do, I think that will maybe entice more women to come if they think, okay, I can come and help or volunteer with something, but also be at the event and see what it's all about. So that's a great idea, Andy. Gonna put that out there.
When I used to own a brewery, we'd go to festivals on weekends and 20,000 people would walk up and you're pouring beers, and I would be telling stories and super animated and all about it. And a lot of people who know me are like, oh, there's no way that you could identify as an introvert. You're so people often, and I could go into the psychology of this forever, but people think being introverted means that you're shy. And it doesn't mean you're bad at communicating. It just means that you feel you recharge when you're alone and you come out, and it's a lot of work to be around people.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where if you have some way to identify with people, and Abby's events all have an icebreaker where people get a card and you're matched up with each other and you have some kind of prompt, and there's speed dating, speed networking. Some of those things are a great way to get out of your comfort zone, because I know that there are a lot of people who are like me, and I'm happy to put myself out there.
100%. I mean, I started this community event and I still would feel the same way at a different event, like somebody else's.
Right. And I think it's important to remember that, like, all of us, we're on this live stream right now. We're confident, outgoing people, but we all might get nervous going into a room full of strangers. It doesn't matter who you are. So even if that's just your one takeaway, that you're not alone in feeling like, oh, I don't really want to go into this group of strangers and try to make small talk, then don't make small talk. Ask people something deeper and they'll probably appreciate it. So that could go in any realm of your life, whether you're at Kristine's events or out at a coffee shop or, anything in between, or traveling Scandinavia.
Right.
For sure.
And Kristine, the whole reason we started this live stream was obviously to feature the amazing people we get to work with, but also to kind of ask the question of how you are disrupting your world, which I know we've touched on a couple times. But if you just want to sum it up in a few sentences, how do you feel like Business Bosses Who Brunch is disrupting the community network building world?
Because we go beyond networking. Actually, I only use the networking word so that people kind of can associate a little bit about what it's about, but really it's not. It's like, I feel like networking is like an old school world, and we are like the modern just connection community, where we are there primarily with the intent to connect on a deeper level. And then in turn from that, we will grow our businesses just because of that self-development and support from the other women, and not because you're going to try to find business. And so I really feel that is what is different and disrupting the industry with Business Bosses Who Brunch.
That was great.
Love it. And then can you also give us a preview what is coming up next in terms of events? What can people mark their calendar for? Maybe give us the next couple things that are coming up.
Sure. So this month we have, again, every third Thursday, we have coffee connection and co-working. That's from 9 to 12 every third Thursday at Junction Coffee and Bar, Junction Food and Drink. That's on the 21st this month. And then our workshop this month is a social media workshop on the 22nd, the AM, where we're doing it on a rooftop patio. We're pretty much teaching all the women social media strategies to connect with their audience in order to get them to know, like, and trust them, to really leverage social media for their business and beat that algorithm and just increase their reach and visibility. So a lot of tips there. September is our next quarterly brunch. We are doing it on September 25th, and Keisha Fitzgerald is the guest speaker. She's a huge podcaster who just moved to Denver. So anybody who wants to start a podcast or who has a podcast, I would highly recommend coming to see her at this brunch. And then October, we're doing a Enneagram, or human design is such a big thing right now. It's all the rage, where people want to know what their human design is. It's kind of like a personality test, but kind of goes deeper than that, mixing it with astrology. So we're going to have somebody that's specialized in that, that's going to help everybody with their human design. And where are we at? November, we're doing another hot seats. And then December, instead of a brunch, we are doing a evening dinner gala on December 1st.
Beautiful. So Kristine, Abby and I obviously get to work with you. We follow your media. And one of the really powerful things that you've said that I've seen recently was uh, you speak at your events about what holds people back and what their fears are. And you came out and said one of your fears was committing to do this. You know, you started this really cool community. It's grown person by person, but you said one of the big moments for you was planning out the next 7 months ahead of time. What was that like for you to finally put it all on paper and take it from kind of a month to month concept to this is what I'm doing and it's booked until next year?
Yeah, I think a part of it was not that I didn't want to do it for the rest of the year. I already had that vision. It was to commit to a date and a specific thing each month because I change my mind frequently. I always have all these ideas. So I'm like, oh, but what if I want to do this one? And now we were booked out for the year. And that's why I'm creating more events because I have come up with more ideas of more events. And so now I'm like, well, we're just going to have more than just one a month. Um, and so, yeah, it does feel good though that people can kind of write something down and kind of know what to expect going forward to see if they even want to be a part of this, knowing what we do for the next, 6 months out.
It's very interesting because a lot of people seem to, when they're doing these community type groups or businesses, they try to cater to a specific kind of people. Like you work specifically with women, but that's still pretty broad. But they might do just one kind of industry. And after hearing about you mentioned Keisha and her podcast, I started listening to her show, and she's been talking lately about how she and her husband want to open a retreat center
Mhm.
and invite people to the mountains and help more communities have things and make even more turnkey solutions for people who want to start a community. So one
Yeah.
of the things I wanted to ask you, because you still have a pretty young community, but that is thriving, for
Mhm.
someone who wants to get into something like this, what would you say if you knew then what you know now?
Get into something like, oh, creating a community.
Yep, if somebody wants to make their own community in their geography or their industry,
That's a
where's the
tough
best
one.
place to start?
Well, that's a tough one because I feel like I just started still. It was just started this year in January, so we're like 6 months now, and so I still feel like it's a baby. I'm still learning so many things, but I think just in general, my um, advice from being an entrepreneur for 14 years would be to just start. I mean, nobody knows what they're doing all the time. Nobody will know all the steps when you first start. You just have to put one step forward. I always say, and I'm guilty of this. Like we all have these big dreams, and these are the women that are attracted to this community, but you see the big goal and it can get overwhelming when you're like, okay, well, how do I get from here to there, right? Well, there's so many steps in between that you really honestly you have to look at it in baby steps and just taking the first step. So it's like, okay, um instead of thinking about like how I envision this community 5-10 years from now, let's just have a brunch. As simple as that. Like, we're just gonna go have a brunch and have some food and sit there, and that's it. I didn't really think after that first brunch, I didn't think about the workshops, what they were gonna be, how we were gonna promote it. I just said, let's go for brunch.
I think that's a great way to think about it too, is like break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, easier to digest.
Hmm.
And I want to just let us wrap this up before things get too crazy where I'm at. Just kidding. It's not that crazy in dreary old Bergen, Norway. But Kristine, we love to end these. We're starting this now by asking, what is something you are celebrating right now? That could be something business-wise, something personally, just like a chance for you to give a little shout out to you.
I think every day I always write these in my journal of like small wins. So it could just be that um, I'm just celebrating that I'm growing each day, and I'm learning something new every day, and I celebrate those things. So it's always like it's the little things each day.
Exactly. Coming back to what you just said.
Yeah.
And then where can people reach out to you, follow you, find you? Give us all the links.
Yeah, I pretty much live on Instagram. You can find me at Kristine K. Munro. That's my that's my business, like my personal brand business page is where I share the most about myself, my family. It's the most personalized. And then also there's Business Bosses Who Brunch on Instagram, and then Close on Social, which is the Instagram agency for real estate professionals.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Kristine, for joining us. And we'll be live again next Friday with a new and exciting guest. So stay tuned. You guys can contact Kristine. Please reach out. If you have questions, contact Andy and I. If you want to come be on the live stream, we would love to have you. I guess good night from me. And I hope you guys have a good afternoon in Colorado.
You too. Have fun at the bar.
I will.